And hello, everyone. Good evening. Happy Tuesday. That's right. For me, and I found this out today because I didn't know this before today, my week is half over because I have Friday off. Yay, Friday off. I will take it. Glad to have you guys here with me tonight as we start a brand new live read. We're going to be reading 100 Ways by Alicia Catala. It's a historical romance. Now, there are going to be portions of this book as it stands at the moment that I can't read on stream. I'm not going to hit any of those today, but there are some portions later on in the manuscript that get a little racy. Now, personally, I have no problem reading things like that. Doesn't bother me at all. I would be happy to do so for you. However, YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, X, Kick, probably TikTok, all have some problems with some of the racy content that we would get into. So, the author had offered me originally a more PG version of this, and I will need to reach out and see if I can get my hands on it. But if you like a good racy book, then this might be right up your alley. We'll find out how it goes. As with most of the books that I live read, I don't read them ahead of time. I just happen to know this one had some possibly problematic places because the author told me so. I don't read them ahead of time because I like to experience the book right alongside all of you. This is a Sennheiser, what is it, MKH 416? It's a shotgun mic. I don't have AC in my office, which means right now I've got a fan running next to me. I'm on the second floor in the corner of my building, so there's oftentimes a lot of background noise. A shotgun mic does a really good job for me of minimizing some of that external noise. Yeah, MKH 416. Yes. It works great, and obviously it's a little bit more of a pricey mic if you've ever gone into price any mics. 10 tips to grow my hair? Well, that's going to be a problem. Mine has been steadily going away. It moves south as I get older. So, don't know that I can give you 10 tips to grow your hair, but back to our book. If you happen to join me on Saturday, we read Disintegration by Thea Landon. And that was another, in her own terms, a smutty book. I read through chapter 6 because starting in chapter 7, it went beyond the scope of what YouTube allows me to post, as this book will eventually do as well. But we can certainly enjoy the story up until we get to those points. Very likely we are not going to get quite all of the way to those areas tonight. I looked the first 9 chapters, which are pretty okay for all of this stuff, is about 15,000 words, which is probably beyond what I will get to in my 1.5 to 2 hour stream. But you guys are welcome to join me for any of it. You can, of course, pick up 100 Ways on Amazon, available there for you. You can pick it up, read along if you like, support the author. If you do find that you are enjoying the book, I will be posting each of the chapters after the stream tonight. The chapters that I read tonight and the chapters that I read on my future ones will get posted after those streams. As with all of my live reads, I record each chapter individually and then post them up to the YouTube channel. My Rumble channel, I have been taking everything and putting it all together as one, basically, audiobook in a live read setting. So Mistakes are my own, and some of it doesn't come through quite the way you would expect out of a professionally produced audiobook, because I'm doing this live. It's very different. It does also mean that during the chapters, you are welcome to message me. I will be happy to respond to any of your questions or comments after the chapter is done. But because I am recording it, I don't stop in the middle. Now, let's go ahead and get ourselves started for the evening. Sapiens, I have no idea. Couldn't tell you. I haven't even heard of it. Now, sit back, relax, and prepare to enjoy as we dive into another evening of live reading together. Tonight with 100 Ways by Alicia Catala. Hope you enjoy as we start into Chapter 1. I said no. Should I put it to music? Write us on it. What would it take for you to listen to me about this? Melita stared daggers at the man whose delicate features mirrored her own. You will go through with it. It's done. The contracts have been worked out, the king approved it, and the marriage is set for tomorrow. Diego sighed and raked his hand through his sandy hair. Look, the politics of this are complicated. This will also clear up my debt. Oh, so I'm being sold like cattle because my brother couldn't keep away from the gambling den. And what will you do if you get in debt again? I'm sure they'll give me back, even if you can't stand having me around. But marrying off a divorced woman is different from marrying off a widow. Melita folded her arms and kept her gaze on him. The king has decreed it's dangerous to allow you to be unmarried. You of all people should realize how precarious your position is. Just last week you were almost kidnapped. Regardless of what you think of me, I do care about you, and I chose the candidate that is best suited for you. Diego held out some papers. Your children's inheritance is safe, and you will become one of the richest women in the alliance. There's even a country estate for you. Melita took the papers and looked them over. This is fairly decent. What's the catch? Father should never have taught you how to read. The catch is that your husband-to-be doesn't care for politics. Diego shrugged. It's a good match. It also gets me out of this country. Fine, I'll cooperate. Melita's mind was turning as she thought of all the possibilities. Diego looked relieved. I had a new dress made for this occasion as my gift to you. Please don't tell me how you managed to afford it considering your situation. I have a condition. Once I go through with it, you will stop gambling and find your own wife. I won't be here to be traded away again. You have my word. There we go. Very quick chapter 1. Chapter 2, I believe, gets a little bit longer for us. So, let's dive in and find out about this arranged marriage and a man who thinks that she shouldn't have learned how to read. Historical romance. Here we go. Into Chapter 2. Melita waited patiently as the maid fussed over her. You must be so happy. Getting married again is such a blessing. I hear the people of Iostrad are even more open-minded, so I hope they see how beautiful you are. She smiled warmly at the girl. I count it as a blessing to have people like you to look after me. People still made snide comments over her appearance, her coloring a throwback to her Sastos lineage. We're ready. Diego appeared and held his arm out to her. Remember, they have different customs. Keep your eyes down until he takes your hand. I remember. She took his arm and walked sedately beside him. They entered the small chapel and made their way to the altar slowly. When they got there, she dipped into a curtsy and waited. An elegant tanned hand, a shade darker than her own, was held out to her. Please rise. There's no need for that. She put her hand in his and rose. I thank you, my lord. You should address his highness by his proper title. A man beside them sniffed with obvious contempt. Her eyes widened in shock as she looked at her husband-to-be. The title alone had told her that the man beside her was a prince, but the small crown perched atop the black hair confirmed it. I don't think this is going to work out. It's a mistake to go through with this. She tried pulling her hand back amidst the commotion her words had caused. Why would you say that, dear lady? I have been waiting for this day. The grip on her hand was tight, but not painful. Melita stared at the dark eyes that seemed to see through her. I do not think we are fit for each other. My brother did not inform me of many things, including your lofty station. I see. May I have a word with you? He turned and looked around the chapel. What's through that door? A small sitting room. Melita frowned as he started walking towards it, her hand still firmly in his grip. What are you doing? We need to speak privately, and that seems like a good place to do so. He didn't slow his pace as he tossed the words over his shoulder. Your Highness, I cannot be alone with you behind closed doors. She stopped dead and tried to tug him back. Your Highness, this is most unusual. This behavior is scandalous, even for you. The prince's advisor called after them. The prince called out over his shoulder. You stay put, Jahan. I don't care about my conduct. He looked at Melita thoughtfully, then nodded towards Diego. Come with us to chaperone. He scooped her up and carried her towards the office. Stop! You'll be forced to marry me if you keep going like this. Melita struggled, then realized how much it would hurt if he dropped her on the cold stone floor, so she stilled her movements. That would be helpful. Maybe I shouldn't ask for a chaperone after all, so I can take advantage of your custom. The handsome man smiled at her. However, I would not want to start this marriage off without your full cooperation. You will have her cooperation. What is this about, Your Highness? Diego closed the door behind them. Please, call me Cadmar. After all, we will be family by the end of the day. Cadmar's hair fell over his eyes as his smile got wider. Excuse me. For that, you'd need me to say yes, and so far, I'm not convinced to do so. She glared at both of them. I sincerely hope I can change your mind about that. Marrying you is important to me. Cadmar gave her a small smile. I can assure you, it will be beneficial to you as well. I'm not worried about benefits to myself. I'm more concerned about the repercussions for you. Melita's words echoed in the small space, and she realized she had raised her voice. She composed herself so she wouldn't be heard by anyone trying to listen in, then tried to reason with her groom. You probably weren't told much about me, so I understand if you want to back out. I will go to a convent. You will do no such thing. You will get married to the prince today. Diego spoke up furiously. Too much is at stake here. Like paying off your debts? I'll give you one of my holdings to sell off. She frowned as she looked down at Diego, wondering why he was shorter than her. Understanding dawned, and she blushed. Your Highness, please put me down. I am capable of standing on my own 2 feet. I rather like this. You're smaller than I thought you would be, considering your reputation. Please, call me Cadmar. His grin was infectious, and she almost smiled back before she caught herself. Call me Cadmar. He gave her a serious look. Fine, Cadmar. Please put me down. I hardly think we can have a serious discussion like this. She tried her most charming smile on him. As long as you promise not to run away until you hear me out. I promise. He set her down, and she smoothed her skirts out. If my reputation precedes me, why would you want to marry me? Don't you know I shamed my husband, and that, along with the nagging, drove him to an early grave? Cadmar laughed. I meant your scholarly reputation. Don't worry. I haven't told anyone you're the mysterious alchemist and sorcerer who has published papers on magical energy use, herbs, and the one that most intrigued me, since it's similar to something I'm working on, your theory on other lives. Melita's eyes widened as Diego sputtered in the background. Now, I heard the rumors of you shaming your husband, but I believe there's more to it than that. My uncle met your late husband and called him an absolutely vile and wretched dog. He said other things, but none I can say in your presence. Rest assured, your intellect will not shame me, and I doubt the sweet woman I see before me will nag me to death. Diego snorted. She's not that sweet. He held up his hands when they both looked at him. Be that as it may, the rumors have painted her in an ill light, and it is her late husband that was to blame for their troubles. So I gathered from my intelligence efforts. My lady, what are your objections to going through with this marriage? Cadmar smiled at her kindly. Your title and my status as a widow leads me to believe this would not be a good match for you. Since you're close to the throne, it is to be expected you marry a young woman who will bear you sons to inherit your title, and who will help you rise in the ranks. I have only borne daughters. I also have a deep dislike of court and all of the machinations that come with that. I will not play political games. That is why I chose you. I do not want a wife who will insist on being at court, nor do I care if I have heirs. He patted her hand. Your studies mean that we should have a lot to talk about as well. We can become friends and work together. That is all I require in a wife. Oh, I understand. You prefer the company of men and need a wife so no one gets suspicious. Melita nodded, happy to have figured it out. His jaw dropped as he stared at her. Not at all. I do find women attractive. I just do not want to be embroiled in any schemes and maneuvering. The bride that was chosen for me is everything I do not want. I was given leeway to look for myself, but time is running out. Surely you see the merit of this considering your own second choice. My second choice? Melita turned to Diego. What second choice? If this marriage doesn't go through, then the king plans to marry you off to Viscount Corford. Diego held his hands up between them apologetically. Melita sat down heavily on the nearest chair. Why didn't you tell me that sooner? Diego raised his voice slightly. I didn't think you'd be so foolish as to deny a great match. Therefore, I saw no need to tell you of this. Cadmar stepped between them and knelt beside her chair. I assume from your sudden paleness that you've heard of Corford's proclivities. I have. She took a deep breath and beckoned him closer to whisper in his ear. My middle child, the one we call Lark, has never been my daughter, even if the midwives and everyone who was present declared him so at his birth. It is important to me to allow him the freedom to be who he really is, in safety. He whispered back, This is something that is celebrated in Iostrad. I have no issues with this. If he is your son, that is what I will call him. She pulled back and raised her voice. If I marry you, will you keep my children safe? As long as you do that, I have no need for the other things you agreed to bestow on me. That was part of the agreement your half-brother worked out with me, although I would have done it even if he hadn't asked. We can retire to the country far away from both courts. There is a small parcel of land in Iostrad that is near the border of Colomor Sastos we will use as a way to try to encourage a new alliance between our countries. We gain relief from matchmakers, and your children will be safe from those who'd use their blood for their own gains. Cadmar placed a hand over his heart. "On my honor as a prince of Iostrad." Melita looked at Diego, who gave her a sheepish grin. "You're not as cold-hearted as you'd like me to think, are you? I guess your father wasn't as bad as they say." Diego shrugged. "Don't tell anyone. I have a reputation to maintain." "It seems this is one-sided in my favor, but I promise I will do my best to be a dutiful wife so you won't regret it." She stood and curtsied to him. "Please, don't curtsy unless we're in public. It's not as one-sided as you think, as I said. I think you will be invaluable to my studies. You would be the perfect colleague with the added benefit of keeping me from a disastrous arranged marriage. You are saving my son and myself from a lot of trouble in the future. My dear lady, would you do me the honor of becoming my wife on this day?" He stood and gave her a brief bow. "I will, although please, call me Melita and don't bow. Shall we go back?" Cadmar smiled and held out his hand. "Allow me to escort you. Unless you rather I carry you to the altar." "That will not be necessary." She smiled at him as they walked out. "Ah, an arranged marriage? A woman who already has some kids? A man who already has at least one son? There we go. What a start to our story. All right, let's check really quick. Any comments, questions from anyone out there? No, 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 and no. Alrighty then, that means we can just continue on with our reading for the evening. I hope you guys are enjoying it. As a reminder, if you would like to, you are welcome to put in any questions that you may have at any point in time. While I will not answer it if I am in the midst of reading a chapter, I do check in there between either every chapter or every other chapter to see what questions you all may have and how I can answer them for you. They don't have to be questions about the book. I have had a number of people that I have answered some questions about, other things about voiceover work and stuff like that. So you are welcome to ask me any questions that you may have, and I will be happy to answer if I am able to do so. Why, thank you. I appreciate that. Became a voiceover artist for a reason, in large part because I love the creativity of doing the acting part of it. So, hope you are enjoying the story, and let's go ahead and get ourselves right back to it, shall we? As we start into Chapter 3. Cadmar took a sip of his wine, noticing his bride had been surrounded by a few of the noble's wives, their furtive glances at him and their worried expressions as they talked to her, telling him all he needed to know about their likely conversation. Melita, however, smiled at them, patting them on their hands before moving away to the next guest. His advisor, Jahan, spoke quietly, his voice pitched so only Cadmar could hear. "You chose well. Your new wife seems to be highly regarded by her people. I must, however, ask that you refrain from causing any more scandals." "I admit I shouldn't have picked her up, but what else have I done?" He turned to look at Jahan. Jahan spoke through gritted teeth, his smile not reaching his eyes. "The part right after your hands were bound by that ribbon." "I only kissed her cheek. I remembered in time they don't kiss to seal marriages here." He took a longer drink of the wine, scanning the crowd for Melita. "When I said they don't kiss, I meant they do not kiss at all, not even on the cheek or hand. Any public displays of affection are seen as vulgar. To them, that was worse than when you carried her off." Jahan sighed. "So, that's why she looked so shocked." Cadmar laughed as he remembered the look on Melita's face as he bent to her. then her giggle as the holy man had gasped behind them. "We need to be mindful of their customs, backwards and superstitious as they may seem, to have any hope of a permanent peace." Jahan turned to survey the room. "Ah, there's the young squire, Lavi. Please, bring us more wine." The dark-haired young man looked away from the musicians, then hurried to their side after acquiring some full wine glasses. "I apologize for the delay." Lavi handed them their drinks, then stood at attention next to them. "Our new princess is beautiful. I will serve her with honor." "I should hope you'd serve her with honor even if she wasn't beautiful." Cadmar ruffled his young squire's hair. He looked at Melita again and agreed with Lavi's assessment. The only thing she had that spoke of Colmore heritage was her red hair. Her gold-colored eyes, high cheekbones, full lips, and tanned skin showed her Sastos heritage. "I did not mean to offend her." Lavi's voice broke. "You did not offend anyone. I know you are just an honorable squire, and will be a fine knight." He patted the boy on the shoulder, hoping that was enough to stave off any anxiety his joke might have caused. He turned back to Jahan after draining his glass. "If they don't allow public displays of affection, why did they bind our hands during the ceremony?" "For the same reason that carrying her wasn't as scandalous. She was being bound to you as your property. If you've noticed, she's still wearing the ribbon as a symbol she's tied to you. Only you can remove it." Jahan gestured toward Melita. "Lavi, bring us a jug of that excellent wine." Cadmar looked at Melita and saw the ribbon trailing from her wrist. "I'll do that now." He started towards her, but Jahan's hand on his arm stopped him. "Not during the festivities. It will be seen as a rejection of the marriage if you undo it before the festivities are over. Once we're on our way back to Iostrad, you can do as you please." Jahan's eyes lit up when Lavi came back with the jug. "Excellent! At least these people have good wine. It's probably the only joy they have." "When will the dancing start?" Cadmar held out his glass for a refill. "They recently decided to prohibit that as well. Someone might show an ankle." Jahan's words were a bit slurred and he swayed slightly. "Jahan, make arrangements for all of us to leave by tomorrow afternoon." He smoothed down his coat and straightened his cuffs. "I'll go inform my wife." "But, Your Highness, these festivities are supposed to last for 3 days." Jahan shook his head. "Are Melita and I legally married?" Cadmar looked at Jahan, eyebrows drawn together as he waited for the answer. "Yes, of course, but—" Jahan stopped speaking when Cadmar held up his hand. "Then we will go. I do not want to spend more time than I have to in this wretched place. I would leave tonight, but I want to make sure Melita and her children have time to pack. I'm not leaving any of them behind. Come to think of it, I should probably meet them before we leave." With that, he headed towards Melita. When he reached her side, he bowed, mindful of the people around them. "My apologies. I've just received news, and we will need to leave tomorrow." A flicker of relief, then worry flickered in her eyes as she curtsied and bowed her head. "As you wish, my lord." "You can't do that. The festivities last for days. At the very least, let her grace stay and she'll go on later." A noble spoke up at the edge of the crowd. Melita looked up at him wide-eyed and pleading. Cadmar seized the ribbon on her wrist and tugged. "This says she's my wife, and mine to do with as I choose. And she, as well as the children, will leave with me tomorrow. I bid you good night. We must prepare for our long journey." He led her out of the ballroom by the ribbon and into the hallway, Jahan and Lavi closing the doors behind them, shutting out the curious onlookers. "Which way to your chambers?" He dropped the ribbon and gestured for her to go ahead of him. Melita picked up the ribbon and placed it back in his hands. "They'll be coming right up behind us. My chambers are joined with yours." Cadmar nodded and went up the stairs, being mindful of not moving so quickly that Melita couldn't keep up. Jahan and Lavi kept pace behind them as the party guests moved out of the ballroom. Jahan, make sure no one comes near us who knows what strange customs these barbarians have. Lavi, please bring food and wine for all of us. I know we didn't eat enough. He entered his chambers, then dropped the ribbon as soon as the door was locked behind them. Is everything all right, my lord? Melita looked at him with concern. Please, we're behind closed doors, and you're my wife. Call me Cadmar. He pulled out a chair by the fire. Please, sit. Melita sat and he took the seat opposite her. Did something happen in Iostrad? Cadmar leaned towards her. No. When Jahan informed me of all the rules, I decided it would be best for us to leave. I may have made a hasty decision, but it seemed for the best, especially after hearing that, according to local custom, I own you, something I find distasteful. If you would rather stay, we can, but I would prefer to get well away from here as soon as possible. If we could leave tonight, I would. Melita beamed at him. Thank you for your kindness. It isn't just for you. I do not want to stay a minute longer than I have to in this joyless place. I apologize for kissing your cheek at the ceremony. I had no idea I was causing a scandal. He undid the laces at his throat and rolled his neck. It was worth it to know the holy man was horrified. Melita laughed. I need to inform the children and their maids about this turn of events. I will be right back. She stood up, still laughing. No need to go that far. I can go for the servants. He reached for the bell, but stopped when she laid a hand on it. They are right across the hall. It won't take that long. Make yourself comfortable. Her skirts rustled as she moved towards the door. Can I go with you? I'd like to meet them. He straightened his jacket to look presentable. I'll bring them here. It might be easier. I would also like to make the acquaintance of Lavi, as I haven't had the opportunity to speak with him. I'll make sure he stays after he brings up the food and wine. He smiled as she slipped out the door, then sat down, suddenly nervous. A soft knock on the door brought him out of his reverie. Come in. Lavi came in carrying a tray laden with food, Jahan close behind him with 2 bottles of wine. As he set the tray down on the table, Lavi spoke. This should be more than enough, but the kitchen girl told me I can always get more. Please, both of you, sit and eat. Melita is bringing her children so we can all be introduced. I hope there will be no issues with leaving tomorrow. He reached for some bread as Jahan poured them each some wine. Not that I can think of, unless Her Highness and the children are packing the whole castle. Jahan gave Cadmar his glass and sat next to him. She is just as ready to leave as I am. He smiled as he thought about her. The door opened and Melita came in with her children behind her. Cadmar rose to greet them. Cadmar, please meet my children. I have one other child, but she went across the sea to marry. This is Brind, my next oldest. Brind was a tall girl with dark hair and eyes, who strode forward confidently to shake his hand. Pleasure to meet you. I hope you keep your promises to our mother. He gave her a brief bow. Of course I shall. It's a pleasure to meet you as well. I see from your hands that you're an artist. There's a lovely sunroom you can use as a studio when we get home. I'll take a look when we get there. Who are you? Bryn turned to Lavi as Melita brought the next child forward. This is Lark. Melita brought Lark forward. Hello. Lark gave him an unenthusiastic greeting, his thick, dark hair almost obscuring his green eyes. Lark, your mother told me about you. Rest assured, in Iostrad, people will respect you and not force you into wearing certain clothes or acting in certain ways. You are your mother's son, and that is how you will be known. Lark looked up at him sharply, tears brimming in his eyes. "Thank you." He looked away and went to join Brind. "This is Jade, my youngest." Melita indicated a blonde girl with curious blue eyes. "My pleasure, Your Highness." He bowed low over the young girl's hand. "I'm not a highness. I'm a lady." Jade laughed. "My apologies, my lady. I thought you were wearing a crown. Now I see that it is just your braids." "What about your son?" Melita asked, looking around. "I did not bring him. He is with his nanny. You'll meet him when we get back." Cadmar looked over at Lavi. "Lavi is my squire. I inherited his services as my manservant when his father died, but I decided to give him a noble's education. He will be a knight when he's older. Right now, I'm hoping having your children around, he will try to act more like the 12-year-old he is." "I will see what I can do about that. What's your child's name? Where is his mother?"
"His name is Ruslan. His mother was my mistress and died in childbirth. I decided to take care of him rather than send him to live with her family."
Cadmar brought out a small locket. "This is his portrait." "He is beautiful. He looks a lot like you." Melita stroked the portrait lovingly. "I'm sorry for your loss, but I hope you allow me to take care of him as I take care of my own. I am very involved in their upbringing."
"I noticed you keep them close. I won't burden you with my responsibility."
"It won't be a burden at all. You are taking us on as your responsibility. It is only proper that I share yours as well."
She smiled at him, and he felt his heart flip. "This is Jahan, one of my advisors. I'm sure you remember him from the chapel."
Jahan bowed.
"It is a pleasure to meet you."
"The pleasure is mine."
"Let's eat and get to know each other."
Cadmar offered a seat to Melita, then settled on another close to her. Melita spoke as she piled food on a plate. "Thank you for getting me out of that party. The nobles are a close-minded bunch, and it would have been a few hours until we could eat. Here you go." She handed him a plate, then busied herself preparing another one.
"Thank you."
Cadmar took a bite of his food as he watched her. "You're welcome. Tell me more about your studies. I don't recall any papers with your name on them." Melita took a bite and made a face. "I had forgotten the kitchen had to prepare food the Kolomor way."
"It is a bit different from what I'm used to. I take it you prefer Sastos food?"
He took another bite. "I do. The flavors are more complex. Iostrad food has some similarity." Melita set her plate down. "I'll ring the cook and ask her to bring some food up. I know she always makes a big Sastos meal as well."
"That would be wonderful. As far as my studies, I have not published anything yet. It's part of the reason for seeking you out and avoiding the other arrangement. Marriage to her would have kept me busy with political intrigue rather than scholarly work."
Cadmar took a long drink of his wine, not knowing what to do about the unexpected attraction he felt towards his wife. Well, okay, that's a way to end a chapter. Question is, how long have you been doing this, and do you believe reading daily improves one's mind? So I have been doing live reads for, it's probably been a couple of years now. Um, through this channel, reading 2 to 3 times a week in my streams. I switched to indie authors within the last year, and I do those twice a week right now. I play a game called MechWarrior Online, and that's what kind of got me started into this, is I started while we were searching for matches, I was reading Battletech books because MechWarrior is set in the Battletech universe. And so it flowed nicely. We would read that, and I really got back to enjoying doing this as the live reads. Now, I've also been an audiobook narrator. I've been working that since 2023, I want to say. I have a couple of audiobooks out there in the marketplace. And, one way or the other, I've been using my voice. I worked in radio for a number of years. I did theater in high school. I was in the army, so of course we yell a lot of that stuff. So, been using my voice for a lot of this for a long time. Uh, Again, live reading more in the last little while, but I have noticed a marked improvement in what I do as I have continued to do it. So, what they say, practice makes perfect, really is true. And then believe reading daily improves one's mind. It can definitely stretch the mind. You'll learn new things, you'll learn new words that you may not have known before, learn different ways of thinking. It is one of the joys of reading is you get a little bit of an insight into who the author might have been or might be, kind of their thoughts on things, the thoughts that they put onto characters that they're doing, all of that stuff, and you get to learn things that you would have never gotten an opportunity to learn if you were not reading on a regular basis. Do you need to read every day? I don't know that. As with any kind of activity, if you do it too much, you can burn yourself out on it. But I would definitely encourage people to read several times a week at least. I am also one of those people that there's a big argument in the writing and authors communities about whether audiobooks are considered reading or not. I am somebody, audiobook narrator and all of that stuff, but I am still somebody who believes that audiobooks, if you're consuming the book, however you consumed it, it is considered reading the book. Um, so I think if it's an audiobook, if that's your preferred method, if it's sitting down to read a book, if it's reading a magazine, if it's reading a newspaper, if it's reading something more than what's written on social media, I think you're in good shape. Appreciate your time and wishing you love, happiness, and joy. I'm going to start reading more often. Highly encourage it. And again, if not, listen to audiobooks. Try to consume content that is deeper than the 5-second splashes that we get in social media nowadays. And I think you will find that it is very beneficial. For anybody who happens to be out there and has a similar type of a thought, on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/@SirArminius, I have been reading books and recording them and putting them up there for quite a while now. There are a number of things that you could get out there and consume there, all 100% free of charge. Now, I'd love it if you'd subscribe because that helps me to grow the channel, but 100% free of charge for you. A lot of the indie authors would love it if you went out and supported them. If you finish a book and you wrote a review, that would be even better for them. But either way, as long as you're consuming something, I think you will find that it is beneficial. All right. And speaking of consuming something, I need some liquid. Because reading does tend to, well, live reading does tend to dry out the throat just a little bit. All right, guys. So we have met Melita. We have met Cadmar. They were arranged to be marriaged, wed. How about arranged to be wed? They are now married. I have never heard of the countries that they reference, so I'm going with these are fictional countries, which means whatever accent I decide to put on people, hey, I'm allowed to do that. I'm trying not to go too thickly with any type of an accent as we have in here, just enough to sound a little bit different than the narration portion of it. So I hope you guys are enjoying that part of it. But let me know. All right, let me check really quick, make sure there are no other thoughts or comments on the other channels. I do stream this on Rumble. I stream it on X. I stream it on Kick. YouTube. Oop, I forgot to hit a button here. Let me hit a button really quick. I stream this on Twitch. I stream this on TikTok. So I am all over the place because I want to give these indie authors as much exposure as I can for them. It is really hard to be an independent author because you are responsible for everything, including marketing. And this gives me the opportunity to practice my narration in different genres while still getting the opportunity to introduce all of you to some new books and new authors. But now let's go ahead and dive into Chapter 4. I have excellent news. I'm ready to send our paper on alternate dimensions to the university in Athea. Cadmore walked into the sitting room he shared with his wife and smiled. That is wonderful, although technically it is your paper. She shifted her skirts and he sat beside her. Ours? I put your name on it as well. He held out the thick paper he carried. Why would you do that? You'll lose credibility. Melita looked at him with anxiety written all over her. He felt that now all too familiar twinge in his chest as he looked at her. Without thinking, he reached out and wound one of her red curls around his finger. Athea has a more relaxed view on women scholars, much like Iostrad. Even if it didn't, I would still include your name. We worked on this together. In that case, thank you. Her smile was radiant as she handed the papers back to him. Who would have guessed our marriage would turn out so well for us? It has been a revelation. You're an even better partner than I expected. His eyes landed on her mouth and he was consumed by the urge to kiss her, a desire that was growing in intensity and frequency by the day. I would say we have become friends. Very good friends. Her face was soft as she looked at him. He leaned toward her as if pulled by a magnet. Your Highness, a letter has arrived. The servant's voice broke the spell. Let me have it. Cadmore held his hand out. He broke the seal and skimmed the contents. What is it? You look anxious. His wife's soft voice caught his attention. It seems the negotiations have broken down. They have declared war. He grasped her hands in his. We should be safe. This is a remote area. Are you being called to court? Her hands had turned icy as the blood drained from her face. No, I'm being asked to stay here and prevent the enemy from passing through. It's doubtful that they will come this far south, but it's a necessity. I will send you and the children to Athea to keep you safe. He rubbed her hands to reassure her. Why do you want to send us away? Melita's look was sharp. I'm afraid that with the current climate, some people in Iostrad would seek to punish you for this war, or be tempted to use you as a hostage. The Prince of Athea, Nicolin, is a good friend of mine, and I'm sure you'll love his wife, Svedja. Alternately, I can send you to Duskace, since you have some family connections there. While Prince Hansen can be a pain, his wife, Alicia, is delightful. He patted her hand and smiled. My place is with you. I didn't take the vows to just run away at the first sign of trouble. Her face took on the look that meant she had made up her mind. I promised your brother I'd keep you safe, and the children safe. Sending you away is the best way to do that. I could send you to Uthas, since Brindez always wanted to study art there. It's just the thought of you being in danger. He shook his head to get the thought out of his head. How do you think I'd feel knowing I'm comfortable in some court while my husband and his retainers could be injured or dying? You know that I'm well versed in healing. I should be here to help. Her chin took on an obstinate angle he hadn't seen before, but was doing strange things to his heartbeat. We have plenty of healers. You do not need to put yourself at risk. So they can risk their lives, but I can't? I'm not any better than they are? You would fight alongside your men. I would heal and provide support. She glared at him with the same intensity she had the day they got married.
However, we should send the children away. Let's talk to Brind and ask what she'd like to do.
He tried to think of something to change her mind and seized on what, to his mind, was a brilliant idea. If you go now, you can present our findings yourselves in Athea. The world needs to know what we discovered.
Brind can do that. She's got more self-possession in her little finger than I do in my entire body. They can do a tour of the kingdoms if need be. It will be good for them to get some culture. I'm sure they will be well hidden among all the courtiers.
Melita smiled at him.
It's funny. When I first came here, you were so hard to figure out. You'd be friendly one day and distant another. Sometimes I thought you resented me being here. Just when I thought I should leave and set up house elsewhere, we started becoming friends, and now I can read you fairly well. I appreciate you trying to protect me, but my place is beside you, so no more schemes to get me to go.
Cadmar took a moment to figure out what to say. Thank you. I chose better than I could have imagined. You have my word I'll keep you safe, and I'll make up for any trouble I may have caused you.
No need. Please get started writing letters of introduction. My hope is that this war will be over quickly.
Melita stood and walked to the door.
I'll find Brind and start making arrangements while you write.
He went to his desk and started doing just that, smiling as he thought about how easily she had defeated his objections. A lot of conflicting emotions swirled in him, but he tried to push them aside as he concentrated. Could it be better than to have a well-matched marriage or partnership or anything? Somebody who challenges you when you need to be challenged, lets you have your way when you need to have your way, and doesn't let you have your way when you don't. Very nice. All right, let's just continue on, shall we? With Chapter 5. Melita joined Cadmar on the battlement, the wind lightly ruffling their hair as they overlooked the valley.
Everything is ready and in place. I hope it doesn't come to a battle, but at least we will be prepared if it does.
There is still time for you to join the children. He turned to her, the murky sky casting shadows on his face.
We will join them together when this is done.
She held up the bread she carried.
Here, have some.
He took the bread and broke off a piece. Thank you. I hadn't realized how hungry I was until just now. Tell me, do they still have the fabled warrior women of Sastos in the armies of Colomor?
You've seen how my country likes to pretend certain things never happened, not to mention their views on women. Do you think they would still allow that?
She handed him a chunk of cheese, which he started eating absent-mindedly. I also know your country is made up of a lot of races and cultures, so I thought it would be prudent to ask. I guess it's just you who has the warrior spirit. He popped the last bit in his mouth, and Melita handed him more food.
You are right, but the wounds of conquest run deep. They prefer to acknowledge one side over the other, not seeing the part they themselves played.
She watched him as he nibbled on the chicken she had just given him.
Have something to drink.
Cadmar took the wineskin and sipped. I think I now understand the complex politics. Why your children are a target, and your cousin sits on the throne instead of you. Is it because they have more Colomor blood while you carry more Sastos blood?
She smiled as she watched him. You are correct. It's why I'm grateful you took us on. I prefer to have my side of the family fade quietly, and the king agrees.
He is weak, and he fears you. Cadmar stopped talking and looked at her. Strange. I feel full. I won't need to go to the dining hall.
That's good.
She was interrupted when she noticed a few riders coming.
I hope that's good news.
Cadmar shaded his eyes and kept his sight firmly on the approaching people.
I doubt it. That looks like Corford's colors. Go into your room. I'll meet with them myself.
No, I'll stand with you. To do otherwise would suggest we're afraid of him. I'll go change.
Melita headed to her room, full of worry over what this could mean. She met him outside of the hall an hour later.
Do you think it's wise to wear your shamshir?
She smoothed out the front of his jacket and surveyed him. He looked very good. The combination of noble and warrior was making breathing a difficult proposition. I don't know why they're here. It's best to make sure I'm prepared. He frowned at her. Why did you choose an Iostrat crown? Won't it be considered scandalous by your people?
They may as well know where my loyalties lie, and it's with you.
Melita gave him a sunny smile. The smile he gave her in return was so sweet that she stopped thinking for a moment. Shall we? He offered her his arm, and they went into the hall together. Melita schooled her features as she took a seat next to Cadmar. Welcome. To what do I owe the pleasure of this visit? Cadmar's tone was bored as he looked down at the men in front of him.
We have come to collect her grace, Duchess Melita of Colomor Sastos, along with the children.
The messenger was dressed in Corford's colors, leaving no doubt as to who had ordered this. Her Highness, Princess Melita of Iostrad, does not need collecting by you or your master. Cadmar leaned back, seemingly bored with the proceedings.
I beg to differ. She should be in the bosom of her loving family while we are at war. We will not allow her to be a hostage.
The messenger's smile made Melita's skin crawl. After our marriage, Melita became a member of my household and is not a hostage. If that is all, then you may go. Cadmar waved his hand as if to shoo them away.
The marriage has been declared invalid, so her continued presence here is seen as an act of hostility by Iostrad. Invalid? My cousin signed those orders himself. Tell Corford he needs to read the contract.
Melita had half stood up, but settled back in her seat when Cadmar placed a hand on hers.
The king has seen the error of his ways as he convalesces after his sudden illness. Even if the contract were valid, we are aware that this marriage has not been consummated, and there is no possibility of heirs. Therefore, it is easy to dissolve. The king fears his illness may return, and it is his wish you marry my master, and that the throne passes down to your heir should he be taken from us prematurely. We do not wish for this unhappy occasion, but we must be prepared. Viscount Corford, of course, regrets the need for this, but he will gladly take on the responsibility.
The messenger bowed with a flourish. I am at your service. Melita couldn't think as she stared at the man in front of her. The message was clear, and she feared for her cousin's life. Cadmar leaned over to her. I suspected this might happen. Follow my lead. He straightened and addressed the messenger. It saddens me to hear of the king's illness, but we are very grateful to the Viscount for providing aid and comfort to him in his time of need. I am afraid that we ourselves have some rather distressing news. The children are no longer with us, since a plague has swept the lands. My dear wife has already been through enough grief from being separated from her children, and the news of her cousin will undoubtedly add to that. Tell Viscount Corford that he will have to find other heirs. Cadmar's face betrayed nothing of his thoughts. The messenger blanched but spoke again.
Be that as it may, the Duchess needs to be with her family. It is imperative that she come back. I'm sure the match between her and my lord will produce heirs.
My answer is no. Princess Melita is mine. You may go. Cadmar gestured, and his men took up positions behind the messenger and his retinue.
You have no choice in the matter. My master will be here tomorrow, and you will give her up, or he will take her. Of course, if you give her up, my master has no reason to attack the castle, and will consider you his friend and ally." The messenger gestured to a large chest the retinue had brought in. "And of course, there are gifts to seal the friendship."
This conversation is over. Cadmar stood and escorted Melita out of the hall. As soon as they were in their sitting room, Melita turned to Cadmar.
"Thank you for protecting the girls, but you do realize neither they nor I are politically useful to you if the world believes they're dead."
"I don't care about politics, and we cannot let them fall into the wrong hands." He placed his hand on her shoulder and looked at her seriously. "Our marriage was never about using your connections for leverage."
"Thank you. I trust you will keep on protecting them after I'm gone? I know it's a lot to ask, but I will leave you with anything I inherited."
Melita tried not to let her fear show. "Do you think so little of me that you think I need to be paid to protect my own? And what do you mean when you say, when you're gone? They will not get their hands on you." He frowned at her before he started pacing.
"My apologies. I didn't mean any insult. I just know that you have no obligations towards any of us after I turn myself over to Corford."
Lita tried to smile. "Why would you go to that man? You made a vow to me in the chapel of your estate, before the eyes of your gods and mine. We are married in almost all ways, and that will not change. Unless you have reason to complain about my suitability as a husband, that is how we shall remain. I took my vows seriously. Did you not?" He rounded on her, his jaw tight with anger. Melita was shocked at this incredibly rare show of temper from her normally even-keeled husband.
"Of course I meant them. It's because I did that I offer you a way out. If I go with Corford, it will prevent a lot of bloodshed. The people in this holding need not die over a squabble for succession in Colmore. I want to protect you and all the people who have made me feel so welcome."
For someone a heartbeat away from the throne, you are hopelessly naive and overly selfless. He sighed as he raked his hand through his hair. We both know that Corford will not stop with gaining access to the throne. Even if he kept his word not to wage war tomorrow, he is likely to be back, so we will have to fight him eventually. You heard the messenger. He expects to conquer Iostrad. Better to fight him now and hope to establish peace while he's not in complete control than wait until he is.
"What you say has merit. But if I'm at court, I can use my influence to prevent a lot of that from happening."
Melita tried reasoning with him, desperate to prevent him from getting hurt. Anger flared up again in his eyes. "From all accounts, he is as vile as your previous husband, possibly worse. A lot of details will have been kept from you, but we have witnessed his atrocities firsthand. He has no honor on the battlefield. It is why Iostrad broke ties with him and refused any further assistance from him. He will rape you, then lock you up to get what he wants. I will not let that happen. You are my wife, and it is my duty to protect you until my last breath. I'm sure most here feel the same way. We still have time. You can go join the children in Uthas, and I will send for you when the war is done."
"I already made it clear I will not run away while you protect me. That stands even more now that I know some of this has to do with me. You should not shed blood for my cause, but if you persist in this foolishness, then I will stand by your side. No matter what you think, I did take my vows seriously."
She tried to make herself as tall as possible as they glared at each other. "Absolutely not. I allowed it before, but now it is different.
They're likely to try to send people here to steal you away while I'm in battle. You need to go."
He ran his fingers through his hair as he tried to calm his breathing. "They're likely to go after me on my journey, and I'll be even more defenseless. So will you. Your forces will end up split, and we will both lose. There's obviously someone in the castle passing on information to them, since they knew about us not sharing sleeping quarters, and we have no time to root them out. The safest place for me is here, beside you."
She folded her arms and waited. They stared at each other, and his gaze softened into an expression she hadn't seen before. "It's difficult to argue with you, although I do know who the traitor is, and he will be dealt with. Does that change your mind?"
"Not at all."
"When we have won, we need to have a long talk." Cadmar gave her a rueful smile.
"I agree."
She nodded and averted her eyes, hoping that doing so would calm the sudden urge to throw her arms around him. Ah, you gotta love it, don't you? Just invalidate the marriage contract somehow. He's probably poisoning the king. Just all good stuff. Ah, medieval politics. Let's find out more in Chapter 6.
"Get that man a bandage." "Are you mad? You can't use that poultice on this injury. Just let the Iostrad physicians do their job. They know what they're doing. You can fetch for them."
Cadmar smiled as he heard his wife's voice come from inside the tent. He ducked his head and went inside, stopping a moment to let his eyes get used to the dimness.
"You're hurt. Come, sit."
Her small hand seized him and pulled him forward. "It's just a scratch. I'm fine. We need to move this facility further back. My intelligence told me there were more men than I saw in the field, so they may be gearing up to try to take our flank in the morning." He took the cup his wife pressed on him and drank gratefully. "Anyone able-bodied can help move the injured."
"Then you have time for me to look at you. Let me help you."
Melita started unbuckling his breastplate. "Stop. Your hands are shaking. I can have Lavi help me. That's what he's here for." He patted her hand. "You need to rest."
"I can't rest while there are people who need my help."
She gasped and put her hand over her mouth when she saw the large red area.
"You said you weren't badly hurt."
Cadmar lifted his arm and looked at his chest. "This is just a bruise. I'm fine." A soft grunt escaped his lips when her fingers probed it.
"That doesn't sound like you're fine. Lavi, help him take off the rest. I will be back with supplies after I'm done examining the one that just came in."
She pushed her hair out of her eyes and sped across the tent. His eyes met those of his young squire and smiled. "I think we better do as she says, or we will be in trouble." Lavi looked at him with round eyes.
"How much trouble?"
"I don't really want to find out. Help me out of this before she gets back." He bit back a yell as his leggings peeled away from a nasty gash on his thigh. "Let's bandage and cover this quickly, or who knows how she'll react." They wrapped the gaping wound, and Cadmar hastily threw a blanket over his lap as he saw her coming towards him.
"Please don't move too much. We're going to put this on to help hasten the healing, then wrap the bandage around it to support it."
Melita looked down at the blanket and narrowed her eyes.
"What are you hiding from me?"
"Not a thing. I took off my armor, but don't have anything else to cover myself with." Cadmar tried to give her an innocent look. "You have a delicate touch. I hardly felt anything as you were examining me."
"Don't praise me yet."
She started winding the strip of cloth around his ribs tightly.
"I'm a bit depleted, so my energy won't be able to take away all your pain."
He looked at her earnest face as she worked on him and reached out to touch her cheek.
"Am I hurting you?"
Her gold eyes looked at him with worry. No, I was just wiping off a smudge. Thank you for patching me up. He made to get up, but his leg gave out from under him, and he sat back down. Let me see. She snatched the blanket away and stared at the seeping bandage. Without a word, she unwrapped it and looked at the torn flesh. You are an idiot. I'm glad I caught this, or it could have gotten bad. Stay put. She shook her head as she went to get more supplies. I guess we didn't do such a good job, Lavi. Would you please find some clothing for me? He winced, but realized he was breathing easier. She called you an idiot. Lavi was trying to hide his mirth behind his hand. I probably deserved it. Go. Cadmar watched his tiny wife come towards him with fire in her eyes and draped the blanket over his lap again, being careful to give her enough room to work while still trying to preserve modesty. Melita knelt in front of him and got to work washing the wound. Why wouldn't you tell me about this? I didn't think it was that bad, and you're already working hard enough as it is. The wound should have been hurting, but for some reason, all his attention was on her movements. It would have given me more work later. She poured clean water over the wound and looked at it critically. This is going to need stitches. Do what you have to do. He took in a deep breath as her hands moved over his skin. I apologize again for not being able to take away all of your pain. She worked quickly, then sat back and plunged her hand in her bodice. When she came up empty-handed, she looked around. My scissors are over there. Well, we're married. I don't need them. Cadmar was puzzled at this declaration and was startled when she lowered her face to his leg. He could feel her breath on his skin, and he went stock still as she bit off the end of the thread. His world tilted on its axis as he opened and closed his mouth. There, that should do it. I'll apply the herbs and a bandage. Melita spread the poultice as she hummed, sending a small wave of energy to enhance her work. Thank you. I need to be ready for tomorrow. She looked up at him with a stricken expression. I can still give myself up. I don't want to see you hurt more because of me. He grasped her hand. Have confidence in your husband. We did very well today. There are worse pains than these. Her eyes held a myriad of emotions as she got closer to him. He was entranced and moved without thinking. Your Highness, we have reports. A soldier stopped in front of him and saluted. Cadmar sighed and pulled back. What is it? He watched out of the corner of his eye as Melita hastily gathered the supplies. You were right about them keeping some force in reserve. Our contingency plan is in place, and reinforcements are due any hour. Good to know. Keep me aware of any updates. He turned back to Melita, but she was already patching up another soldier. His fist clenched as he watched the young man smile at her. In his head, he knew that there was nothing between them, but the uncomfortable feeling wouldn't go away. Here you go. Lavi presented him with a set of clothes. Thank you. He slid on the pants, then stood to finish the process. Cadmar was startled when he felt a warm body next to his. Honestly, you should be sitting down. At least lean on me while you do that. His wife had her arm around his waist as she propped him up. I don't. He stopped abruptly. Thank you. That helps. He sagged a little after he laced up the waist, enjoying the feel of her against him. Rest. We're getting everyone ready to move. Melita pushed him down gently onto the cot. I may rest better if you sat beside me for a moment. My arm feels weak. I may need help to drink. He ducked his head to avoid her eyes. I can help with that. Lavi sat beside him. No. I need you to make sure things are going well with transferring the worst patients. Check on that, then report back. He looked at Melita and held out his hand. Please, sit. I feel tired suddenly. Melita settled herself next to him.
You just fought a battle and had some wounds. I'm surprised you're not asleep like the rest.
She gestured around the now quiet tent.
It looks like everyone has been taken care of.
He's put his arm around her shoulder and brought her closer. You did well. I'm proud of you.
Thank you. I mostly just stayed out of your physician's way and helped where I could.
She blushed and gave him a small smile.
The wagons are ready.
Lavi gave them a small bow.
They're waiting for you in the first one.
No. Tell the men to get the ones who need the most care first, as well as the physicians. I'll go last. As the leader, it is my duty. He turned to Melita. You should go.
Like hell I will. You'll need someone here in case you open your wounds, or someone else needs healing. I will leave when you do.
She stood and patted his shoulder.
I'll make some tea while we wait.
You heard the lady, Lavi. Get on the transport. That is an order. Lavi looked at him unhappily.
If that is what you wish.
Melita came back with a steaming mug and sat beside him.
I added some extra herbs to help speed up healing. Think you can drink it by yourself, or do you need me to help?
I may be able to handle it. This won't put me to sleep, will it? He took a careful sip.
Not at all. I wouldn't do that to you, tempting as it may be on occasion.
She grabbed his mug and took a drink.
This turned out better than I thought.
You gave me a drink without knowing what it would taste like? He drank more of it as he looked at her.
It doesn't matter what it tastes like as long as it gets the job done. But I did add a liberal amount of warming spices since I know you like them, and it should cover any bitterness.
She took the mug and drank again.
At least we won't be so fatigued tomorrow. Here, drink.
The events of the day finally hit him, and he yawned.
You should lie down. I'll wake you when it's your turn.
She got up and fussed with the blankets.
Will you stay next to me?
He settled down and looked at her. The reddish light coming from the setting sun enveloped her and gave her the appearance of a divine fire. He couldn't see her face, but somehow he knew she was smiling.
Of course. I'm always by your side.
The cot shifted, and he could feel her warmth next to him. When I've won this battle, we should think about... His eyes started drifting shut.
Think about what?
He tried speaking again, but sleep overtook him. A light touch on his shoulder startled him awake.
Cadmar.
Melita's quiet whisper had him instantly alert. What is it? He opened his eyes a crack to see what was wrong.
Most of the soldiers are gone, but I hear too many people trying to be quiet. I know they can see me moving about, but don't really know how many of you there are.
He felt her touch his arm, then she pressed the hilt of his shamshir in his hand. Thank you. I can't really tell how many there are.
Do you want help putting on your breastplate?
Her breath ghosted over him. No, there's no time, and I want to catch them by surprise. They probably think we're all asleep. Hand me the shield, then wake any others.
Here it is. I'll be back.
Cadmar felt her slip away as he strapped on his shield. The soldiers around him stirred slightly as Melita moved about, snuffing out some lights. Oh, yay! Ambush to get the woman. Hello, Barbette. It is always good to see you, my friend. You are welcome to lurk. You are welcome to chat. You are welcome to do whatever you would ever like in my channel. You know this. All right, guys, we're going to get through, I think, one more chapter, and then we'll call it for the evening. We sure can't leave it on this cliffhanger, right? Nope. One more, guys. We're going to go into chapter 7. And here we go. Chapter 7.
There are 6 left that can fight. The ones that can't are moving towards the back and will provide what reinforcements they can. The enemy seems to be gathering in front.
Melita placed her hand slightly on Cadmar's shoulder, noticing the tightly coiled tension. Slip out of the back and make a run for it. Cadmar reached out and squeezed her hand.
I think they'll expect that. Besides, I already told you, I'll always be by your side. I do have some knowledge.
He went deceptively limp when 2 soldiers came into the tent.
You there, step away from that soldier.
One of the men advanced on Melita.
This is a disgrace. It is against the code of knights to attack injured men. Get out of my medical tent.
Melita glared at the men in question. The soldier laughed as they kept going.
Our Lord told us to leave no prisoners, but we'll take you.
As they passed down the cots, Cadmar and another of the soldiers cut them down.
Stay behind me. There will be more.
Cadmar stepped in front of Melita. 2 of his men leaped toward the tent opening as they waited for more enemies, and the other 4 stood beside Cadmar.
This one might work.
Melita inspected the sword she had just taken off the dead soldier at her feet. Cadmar turned.
What are you doing?
Behind you!
Melita raised her hand and a flash of light hit the soldier's face as he swung towards Cadmar. The soldier staggered back and Cadmar ran him through.
Why do you have a sword?
Cadmar turned his head slightly as he waited.
I need a weapon to fight. I don't have enough energy left for combat magic.
More soldiers burst in, and the 2 by the opening sprang into action.
You'll get killed. Get behind the med trunks.
Cadmar kicked a cod and sent it flying towards an enemy before engaging with one that had just reached him.
What good would that do you?
Melita swung her sword and connected.
It's all coming back.
Coming back?
Cadmar bashed his shield against the helmet of the man in front of him, then slashed his legs out from under him, finishing him off with a blow to the chest. Melita stood beside Cadmar.
My fight training.
2 soldiers rushed to her, and Cadmar took the blow from one on his raised shield as she ducked. Melita took the opportunity to dispatch one in the confusion, while Cadmar took care of the other.
You had fight training?
Cadmar whirled and narrowly avoided a slash before driving the other man back.
We may not have warrior women in the armies, but some of us were taught the old ways.
Melita kicked her attacker's legs out from under him.
I'll take that.
She took a dagger from his belt and hit him in the temple with her hilt.
Won't make it more difficult to fight with that?
Cadmar shielded her from another blow as she dispatched their attacker.
I can use both.
She looked around the tent when she realized everything was quiet.
We work well together.
Is everyone all right?
Cadmar looked at his soldiers.
Just minor injuries. No disrespect, Princess, but the men from Colmore don't seem to be very good fighters.
The young soldier bowed.
The women, however, are formidable.
They didn't think they'd need their best. We better be ready for more.
Melita stood and checked Cadmar's bandages.
Oh, you have a cut.
She turned to get more supplies, but he grabbed her hand.
Are you hurt? If there are better soldiers coming, you should go. Your safety is paramount.
I'm not hurt, and I can hold my own better against better soldiers. Come, let's get you cleaned up and into your armor.
She took his hand and led him away from the rest of the group.
I don't know how much time we have, so let's do the upper portion first.
Melita felt his eyes on her as she helped him clean the cut on his arm. How do you know that you can handle more? She started working on the fasteners while still avoiding his gaze.
My father was the one that made sure I had training. I guess to make up for the fact that I wouldn't be allowed to inherit a throne that was rightfully mine on either side. He said that I could at least honor my mother's Sastos lineage that way. Mother's second husband wasn't that way.
Sounds like your father loved you. His voice was soft as she worked.
His liking of the Sastros culture and people got him in a lot of trouble. When I was married off, I could only train in secret.
What are you not telling me?
He laid a hand on her shoulder and she looked at him. The real reason I shamed my late husband is because I challenged him to a duel and beat him. Legs next.
He laughed as he took off the leather leggings he had been wearing. I wonder why they don't tell that story. It's a good one. Why did you challenge him?
She helped him into the leg armor, so I would no longer have to share his house. He disgusted me after the bloom of marriage wore off, and I saw him for what he was. I had thought he'd let me go since I didn't have any children that could inherit his title, but he was strangely possessive.
That sounds like a good solution.
He smiled at her, then turned to the others.
Men, your princess defeated Rill the Wretched in a duel.
Melita hissed at Cadmar. Why would you tell Sam that? And why the wretched?
Because they should be as proud of you as I am. The answer to your second question is not something I care to repeat to a lady.
Your Highness, I hear horses.
In the distance! Get yourselves ready and in position. We need to keep the princess and the injured protected in case they aren't our reinforcements. He looked at Melita. I don't want to let you out of my sight. Stay next to me.
Always. She swung her sword and dagger. Seems I still have the touch.
Would you like to trade one of those for a shield? One of the soldiers offered his.
No, thank you. Your shield is too heavy for me. Hold this.
She handed her dagger to Cadmar and took her scissors out of the sheath inside the bodice, then started cutting away at her skirt. What are you doing? Cadmar sounded alarmed.
I need to be able to move with ease. Long skirts will be a hindrance.
She finished with her skirts, then started cutting away the sleeves. Cadmar left her side for a moment and came with a pile of leather. I can strap these on your legs. Men, help her with the arm braces. Aram, see if you can find something to protect her chest. He knelt in front of her, then looked up with a grin. Only your husband should see your pretty legs this close. Melita was nonplussed at this statement and hoped the light was dim enough to hide her blush. She placed her scissors back in their sheath and fixed her eyes on a tent pole to try to ignore the way her husband's hands felt on her legs. Her breath hitched and she turned her burning face towards the ceiling of the tent when she felt his fingers skimming under her skirt, close to the top of her thighs. There, that should do it. I hope you never have to fight again, but if you like, we can commission a set of armor for you. He stood and smiled at her. Be careful with your upper legs. They're not covered at all, since I could only use half the armor due to your stature. She looked down and realized the armor only covered her calves and knees. Not wanting to look up, she smoothed down what was left of her skirt, comforted by the familiar weight of the small knife she always hid in the ruffles. I think I found something that can help. Aram presented them with what he had found. Some pieces might be too big, but we will use what we can. Cadmar worked quickly and was able to cover her shoulders and some of her midsection and lower chest. I'm not happy about your neck and chest being exposed. Test it and tell me if we need to change anything.
It's better than nothing. You're taking this rather well for someone who wanted me to stay out of it. She flexed and went through some of the motions. It's good.
I still wish you'd hide, but if you won't, then my best option is to help you fight effectively. Maybe we can train together later. He gave her a look that she couldn't decipher.
That would be good.
She smiled as she warmed up. I'll do my best to shield you. Cadmar rolled his shoulders in preparation. Stay low.
I don't want you hurt because you got distracted, so please don't worry so much about me.
You are still very vulnerable in your piecemeal armor. I will be your shield, or I will toss you in a med trunk to keep you safe. His tone and stiff posture told her he was serious about this declaration.
I can't argue with that.
She moved to be next to him. With any luck, this is our people coming. She heard a man's voice shout and shifted into a fighting stance.
It's not. That's Corford's captain.
The men around her got ready and she looked at Cadmar.
Why aren't you wearing your helmet?
I need to be able to see where you are at all times. I'm counting on you to help me take them out quickly. Melita felt a warm glow spread through her at this sign of his trust in her. Soldiers came into the tent and froze at the sight before them. Cadmar's men took advantage of their surprise and cut a few down as more poured in. The battle reached them, and Melita got lower to the ground. As a soldier swung towards Cadmar, Melita timed her blow to help double the impact of her husband's strike. The moment the man hit the ground, she bashed the side of his helmet and he went still. She looked up at a sudden crash and saw Cadmar fending off a soldier who was swinging a mace towards him. Melita dashed forward and under Cadmar's shield to knock the soldier off balance while Cadmar finished him off. "Duck!" Cadmar's shout made her drop to one knee as he bore the brunt of a heavy blow from a new opponent. He swung and the man's body toppled over. They continued fighting in tandem, Cadmar getting their attention while she exploited her size to take advantage of their weaknesses. "I think they've recognized you." Cadmar's words reached Melita over the din.
Why do you say that?
She brought up her dagger to block a blow and saw the hesitation in her opponent's eyes. With a sigh, she kicked his solar plexus and knocked him out as he fell.
I see why.
It will make it easier to protect you. Cadmar bashed his shield into a man with a poleaxe, and Melita disarmed him.
But you'll be in more danger. I guess I should shield you.
Melita smiled at the young soldier in front of her.
You can run if you like.
Thank you, Your Grace. He saluted, then turned and fled. The fight took on a surreal turn as new soldiers poured in and some of their former opponents decided to switch sides to protect them. Sweat dripped over Melita's face and she wiped her brow. As far as she could tell, the fight was finally turning in their favor and was almost over. "Where are you?" Melita heard Cadmar's raised voice and she looked around for him. She spotted him coming towards her, fending off those who were trying to attack him. Their attack seemed to be aimed at incapacitating him, and she realized they knew who he was as well.
Here.
Melita kicked dirt at the man in front of her, then swept his legs out from under him.
Stay down.
Melita! Cadmar called out to her, then stopped dead, just as she felt steel at her neck. Quiet! Corford's voice rang out, and almost everyone stopped. Cadmar raised his shamshir and pointed. Let her go. Men, bind the prince. I need him alive, but not necessarily whole. Corford's hot breath rolled over Melita's head. Swords were aimed towards everyone else, and it was hard to tell who was enemy and foe. What are you waiting for? I've rescued the Duchess. Corford lowered the knife. She's safe now.
I don't need rescuing. The person who is most likely to harm me is you.
Melita spit out the words as she looked at the sea of faces in front of her. Cadmar seemed to be surrounded by the enemy, and she almost stopped breathing when one shifted so the point of his sword was aimed at Cadmar's throat. Let her go now, and I'll let you live. Cadmar's narrowed eyes were fixed on Corford. You're in no position to bargain. Corford lowered his mouth to Melita's ear. I'm glad you didn't let that animal touch you. However, I'm still going to make you suffer for taking my prize away.
What are you talking about?
Melita was going over her options as she assessed the situation.
Bryn, you took her and kept her locked away. I know you also lied about your children. Maybe after you bear my heir, I'll marry the youngest, after a suitable mourning period for you.
Corford licked her neck.
Bryn was 10, and Jade is 16. You have no right.
Her hands brushed the ruffles of her skirt as she tried to keep her composure.
I have every right. Better young flesh than old, though I will enjoy putting you through your paces. Your pretty prince will also suffer. I won't need the ransom after I get your holdings.
Melita shook, then called out in a voice guaranteed to reach the whole tent.
If I submit to you, will you give your word that you will leave Prince Cadmar and any current member of his household alone? Just ride away with me and stop this war. Leave them all alone, and I will declare before the country that you are the rightful heir instead of my cousin.
Melita, no! Why would you do something like this?
Cadmar's look was a complex mix of emotions.
Because of what I have been trying to tell you in dozens, no hundreds of ways each and every day. What I've said with every stitch I have sewn, every note I've taken, every time I've baked bread or brewed your tea. Can you understand that?
She gave him a smile as she gave voice to what was in her heart.
I do. And I hope you understand that I cannot give up on you, because I have been saying the same thing. Everything I do is colored by that. There are 100 ways to say it, but I hope to say it in thousands of ways.
Cadmar's look was at once tender and fierce.
Then you will understand why I do this. Remember, anyone that is an official part of your household as of this moment is yours to protect. Tell them what I have been saying.
Melita's eyes filled with tears even as a calm descended over her. She turned and looked at Corford.
Give me your word in front of these people that neither you nor any member of your house will act against the house of Prince Cadmar of Iostrad, and I will kneel before you and agree to ensure the throne.
Corford gave her an amused look.
It will be nice to see that once proud Duchess kneel. You have my word. I will not harm the young prince or his household.
Melita knelt slowly.
No!
Cadmar's shout made her flinch for a moment. She looked up at Corford and smiled. With a quick movement born of years of training, she lunged forward and drove her knife into the gap in the groin section of Corford's armor. She put all her weight behind it as she twisted, hoping to at least do enough damage with the small knife to buy Cadmar time. Corford's eyes widened as blood gushed out. He swung at her, and she ducked but felt pain like fire before she could get out of the way completely. She fell and saw her own blood spilling on the floor.
Melita! Your Grace! Viscount Corford must pay!
She looked at her husband and smiled at how well her division had worked, as well as how loyal the soldiers had remained to her family. Her last thought was of happiness that her loved ones were safe, as everything went black.
Always nice to castrate a vile, wretched pedophile.
All right, everyone. That is going to do it for our reading this evening. I hope you have enjoyed the start of 100 Ways. Hey, we now know what the 100 Ways means. I will be back again on Saturday to continue the reading. I just have to see if I can get the PG version of this, because it is my understanding that come chapter 10, we start to get a little bit outside of allowable items on YouTube. What are you gonna do, right? So I have to see if I can get with the author and get the PG version of this. I believe she said there was one. So, thank you to all of you. The greatest gift that you can give is the gift of your time, and I appreciate that you guys gave me the gift of yours this evening.
I will again be back on Saturday. All of the chapters from tonight will be available on the YouTube channel later tonight. If you want to check out more of the book, 100 Ways, you can stop out to Amazon and pick up the book. I will, of course, continue the reading with what I can on Saturday. So I hope you guys will come along to join me for that. And if you missed any part of tonight, I will have that up and available on my YouTube channel by later this evening. Should be up by no later than tomorrow morning, all depending on how long it takes YouTube to upload. I hope you guys all have yourselves a wonderful rest of your evening, a fantastic week ahead, and I look forward to seeing you guys all again really soon. Good night, everybody.